Thank you for joining, everybody. Uh, I would like to thank the Colombo North Medical Society of Colombo North Teaching Hospital, Dr. Sanjeeva Rajapaksa, consultant cardiologist, and Dr. Lasantana Nayakkara for organizing this event and inviting me to deliver this speech. I would be happy if you have any questions, you can send the questions to Zoom chat or ask directly from audio at the end. So your participation is really valued, and I will start the lecture now and hope you will listen and ask any questions at the end. So today we are going to discuss about parenting, and we are going to emphasize about should parents be friends with their kids and intelligent parent during COVID-19. So I am Dr. Muru Chandradasa. I'm a consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist at the Colombo North Teaching Hospital in Ragama, as well as a senior lecturer in the medical faculty Ragama. First, we'll discuss about parenting styles, because longitudinal research has shown that parenting styles impact the personality and character development in our children. So it is very important that parents understand how important it is to deal with their kids in a healthy and a psychologically nurturing manner. So there are 4 major parenting styles. Let's go through each one of them. The first type I'm going to describe today is called the uninvolved parenting. So what is uninvolved parenting? You can see in the picture, the father is looking at the smartphone and the son is very bored and disinterested, and he feels he is ignored. Does it happen in your home? So uninvolved parents, or the parents who follow the uninvolved parenting style, they have very few demands from kids. They don't ask them to study or do sports. They very have low responsiveness. When a child has any distress or needs something, the parents do not easily respond to the child, and they do not communicate with their children a lot, and they keep looking at their phones and do not give much eye contact. They fulfill the child's basic needs. They will put their kids to the best schools. They will give the most expensive clothes and toys. But emotionally, they will be detached and disconnected from their children. Because of this, there is no clear guidance what to do if this happens. There is no guidance or clear structure, and there are no rules to be followed at home. You are on your own. So, what kind of people have uninvolved parenting style? Usually, I see thousands of parents every month. So these are the things they tell me when they come to see us. They say, "Mama got busy, doctor. Mama ගෙදර එනකොට පොතා බුදිනේ." So they say, "I'm so busy at work. When I come home, my son or daughter is sleeping." So if you are earning money to make your children's life better, and if you are doing a job, when you come home, your child is sleeping, is it worthwhile? Then the mothers would usually say, if they have an uninvolved father, එයා ඉතින් මාත් එක්කම තමයි. තාත්තා ඉතින් බිසීනේ. එයාට ගොඩක් බිසී. එයා පුතත් එක්ක ඉන්ටරැක්ට් කරන්නේ නැහැ. So uninvolved father. එයා ගෙදර ආවොත් ෆෝන් එකේ තමයි. බබත් එක්ක සෙල්ලම් කරන්න වෙලාවක් නැහැ. Let's say a 12 or 13-year-old son wants to play cricket with father. Father doesn't come and play with him. So when parents have uninvolved parenting, that is the most damaging parenting style, leading to long-term poor self-esteem, lack of social competency, and significant behavioral problems in kids. The next parenting style is called the authoritarian parenting style. So in authoritarian parenting style, there's a lot of demands from the child, but the parents are not emotionally supportive. Let's go through the details. Children are expected to follow strict rules. තුවාය දාන්න එපා මෙතන, සැරප්පු දෙක හරියට තියන්න, bathroom එකට ගියාම light එක off කරන්න. There are strict rules. If these rules are not followed, there are going to be a lot of criticism. මම ඔයාලට කී පාරක් කියලා තියෙනවද? මම දැන් 10 පාරක් කිව්වනේ ඔයාලට. So there's a lot of criticism. ඔයා නම් වැඩක්ම නැහැ. So lot of critical hostile comments. So they have a lot of high demands. You do this, you do that, but not very responsive emotionally. They don't go to the child's level, do not hug them when they are distressed, and do not understand their emotions. So they always say the famous comment, spare the rod and it will spoil the child. So when they come to our clinical practice, what do they tell us? They will say, අපේ අම්මලා තාත්තලා හැදුවේ අපි මෙහෙම තමයි. ඒගොල්ලෝ අපිට ගහලා බැනලා තමයි හැදුවේ. ඉතින් ඒක හින්දා අපි හොඳ තැනක ඉන්න හින්දා අපිත් ඒ විදිහටම ළමයි හදන්නේ. So they will say හැඳි නොගා හදන හොද්දයි ගුටි නොගා හදන දරුවයි ගන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. අපි ඉතින් මෙතන ඉන්නේ අපේ ගුරුවරු අපිට ගහපු බැනපු හින්දා තමයි. So this is a very common myth among Sri Lankan people. So when will people say that, okay, if you are in this successful position because of your class teacher in grade 5 punished you and physically punished you, so that means all your intelligence, personality characteristics, character traits, all your hard work in your school, university, all your training, all your dedication is useless. We should all send our children to your teacher in grade 5 and ask her to hit the children and they will all be successful. And if physically punishing and harassing children is successful, we should see educational experts from all over the world, Finland, Sweden, coming and observing our great methods in our school. Have you ever seen an educational expert from Europe or America coming to our schools and observing how the teachers hit kids so they can learn how to hit kids and that will make them successful? No, it doesn't work like that. Research in Asian countries, in Sri Lanka, in other countries have clearly proven that if you harass, punish kids often, children develop personality development issues and their personal growth is very poor. Then people say, අපේ බබාගේ teacher හරි හොඳයි. අපේ බබා teacherට බයයි. එයා ගෙදරදී වැඩ කරන්නේ නැති හින්දා මම teacherට කියලා තමයි කියනවා කියලා තමයි වැඩ ටික කරගන්නේ. So you can make a 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid fearful of the teacher. But when they are 16, 18, 21, are you going to say, මගේ පුතාගේ යුනිවර්සිටි එකේ ලෙක්චරර් හරි සරයි. එයාට කියලා එයාට ගස්සනවා කියලා තමයි යුනිවර්සිටි එකේ වැඩ ටික කරගන්නේ. Will that work? So that is called fear conditioning. That is not going to work in the long run. What works in the long run is self-control, making them disciplined according to their own regulation skills rather than using your fear conditioning. Fear conditioning කියන්නේ බය වැද්දීමෙන් විනය පරිවර්තා ගැනීම. ඒක දිගු කාලීනව සාර්ථක වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා ගොඩක් ඔප්පු වෙලා තියෙනවා. Then parents will say, මම හොඳින් කිව්වා ඇහුන්නේ දුන්නද. So this is typical authoritarian style. They say, මම මෙන්න මේ විදියට කරන්න කිව්වා කරේ නැහැ දුන්නද. So rather than finding what is the cognitive skill lacking, why does the child can't do it, they punish the child without inquiring what is the lacking skill. So research has proven again and again, as shown here, the meta-analysis, which is a collaboration or a corroboration of lot of research data, has shown that harsh parental control, psychological control, authoritarian parenting, permissive parenting and neglectful parenting is associated with higher levels of externalizing problems. When you have authoritarian kind of a parenting style, your child becomes hyperactive and distant. So research has also proven that when you follow an authoritarian parenting style, your child is more likely to become a bully. So you will not know, they may have pushed a child in the classroom, maybe telling nicknames to one of his peers, so they may have become bullies in the classroom as well as become cyber bullies when they are teenagers. Also, studies in Asia has shown that when you have authoritarian parenting style, when the child grows up and becomes a teenager, they are more likely to have risky behavior like substance use, alcohol use, and violence. Right. The next parenting going to discuss today is permissive parenting style. Permissive parents have very low demands and they do not expect much from the child. So they rarely discipline the child because they have not much expectations. They say, අපි ඉතින් ළමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ හැදෙන විදිහට හැදුනාවේ, so they will just let the child go as they want. So they are not so responsive. They are responsive when the child is distressed, but they do not expect much. So they are usually non-traditional and lenient, and they are generally nurturing and communicative when required. But they do not have clear rules or structure at home for in regards to discipline. So they are more kind of a friend. So when we began the lecture today, I told we are going to discuss whether it is good to become a friend to your child. So friendly approach or becoming a friend with your child is called the permissive parenting, and in the long run it is going to be harmful because there are so many friends at school, in the neighborhood. If the mother and father become friends, it is all right to have a friendly approach with the child. But to become a friend can be damaging in the long run. So you have to be very careful when you consider that approach. So what happens if you become a friend with your child and you use the permissive parenting style? So when they come for consultations, they say, ළමයි ඉතින් ළමයිනේ ડોක්ටර්, ඒගොල්ලෝ එහෙම තමයි. ඒගොල්ලෝගේ හැම එකම අපි හදන්න බලන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලන්ට කැමති විදිහට හැදෙන්න කියලා තමයි අපි තියෙන්නේ. If they does something incorrect and wrong, they will just say, එහෙම කරන්න එපා පුතේ. So there are no consequences. They don't take off rewards. There is no clear structure in the behavioral regulation. They will say, එහෙම කරන්න එපා පුතේ. That's that. So if the අයියා hits a nangi, they say, නංගිට ගහන්න එපා, නංගි පොඩිනේ. So they will just say that and let it go. And they will give extra options always. So පරිප්පු තමයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. පරිප්පු කන්න බැයිද? එහෙනම් මොනවාද ඔයාට ඕනේ? ඕන එකක් කියන්න මං හදලා දෙන්න. So the permissive parent will say, මම ඔයාට ඕන එකක් කියන්න මං හදලා දෙන්න. So there is no behavioral boundaries. There is no limit to the request. Then they will come and say, Doctor, mamai babai hunda yaluwa. Ya mata ඕන එකක් කියනවා. So the child should have his own limitations. Parents should have their own limitations. You are not there to be a friend. It's all right to be friendly with the child, but there should be some privacy, some confidentiality and boundary between yourself and the child. Emotional over-involvement. ඒ කියන්නේ හැම එකටම parents අත දාන එකෙන් in the long run they may not survive in the real world. Then also they say, ඩොක්ටර්ට මම කලින් විස්තර කියලා යන්න ආවේ නැත්නම් එයාට දුක හිතෙනවනේ එයා ඉන්නකොට කිව්වොත් sometimes parents come and say මම ඩොක්ටර්ට කලින් චුට්ටක් විස්තර කරලා යන්නම් දැන් එයා ඉස්සරහා කිව්වොත් එයාට ගොඩක් දුක හිතෙනවනේ එයාට තරහයයි දන්නේ නැහැ ගෙදර ගිහිල්ලා මට බනීද දන්නේ නැහැ. So I'm expecting maybe a 20-year-old 6 foot big boy is the child. So the mother is afraid to tell the behavioral problems in front of me. But within 10 minutes, a little 8-year-old girl comes through the door whose mother was scared of telling the behavioral problems in front of the child psychiatrist. So these are the classic features of permissive parents. So they will say, අපේ දෙමාපියෝ ඒ කාලේ හරිම සරයි. ඒකයි මම මෙයාට යාළුවෙක් වගේ සලකන්නේ. So if your parents were authoritarians, you will try to do the opposite because you know it was distressing for you. So rather than coming to the middle ground, you will choose the extreme opposite end of being authoritarian. So you will become permissive parent. So what has research said about permissive parents? So it has said, if you are a permissive parent, it is more likely that child will become addicted to internet, screen addiction and video games. You know, increased use of video games and internet and screens can lead to depression, anxiety and long-term psychological problems. And further research have shown, if the parents have a permissive parenting style, children are more likely to have unhealthy eating, and they can develop childhood obesity, and they will not have a structural good regulation during the meal time. They will request anything they want. And when they grow up, does the stress stop as a child? No. Even when they go to the upper school, if your parents were permissive, there's continued perceived increased stress. So you think ඉල්ලන හැම එකම දෙන අම්මා කෙනෙකුයි තාත්තකුයි ඉන්නවා නම් ළමයා සන්තෝෂෙන් ඉන්න තැන. This doesn't happen. Even when they grow up, they are sad and stressed because they have not developed emotional resilience. They have not developed coping skills to deal with their own stresses. Next, we are going to talk about the proper parenting style. So this is the method you should follow when you are a parent. Authoritative parenting. So authoritative parents, good parents, establish rules and guidelines. They say, මෙන්න මෙහෙම වුණොත් මේ විදිහට කරන්න ඕනේ. මෙන්න මෙහෙම වුණොත් මේ විදිහට නොකර ඉන්න. So they are very responsive. When the child is distressed, they will stop whatever they are doing. They will keep the phones away, laptops away. They will listen to the child eye to eye and ask, මොකක්ද ප්‍රශ්නේ? ඔයාට මොනවද හිතුනේ? So they will be very responsive. So they will expect a lot from the child. ඔයාට අපි මෙහෙම කරන්න කියලා තියෙනවා. මෙන්න මේ වගේ දේවල් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ගත්ත බඩුව ආයෙ තියන්න ඕනේ. මෙන්න මේ විදිහට පිළිවෙලට ඉන්න ඕනේ. මෙන්න මේ විදිහට homework ටික කරලා තියෙනවා. So there is lot of responsiveness, lot of expectations. So they provide lot of warmth and adequate support. If the child do not meet the expectations, there is no punishment. Okay, homework කරන්න ඕනේ, කරන්න බැරි වුණා. It's okay. අපි බලමු දැන් මේක විසඳගන්නේ කොහොමද. So why did the child did not do the homework? Then is it a part of inattention? Okay, every day we tell him to do the homework, he's not doing. So we think, is he trying to manipulate us and trick us? No, maybe he has inattention, can't focus. So we treat the inattention by going to a child psychiatrist. Or he has cognitive delay. He can't understand, doesn't have good abstract thinking for his age. Viyukta chintane aduyi. So we meet a psychiatrist and take appropriate techniques to develop abstract thinking. So we have to look in deeply and find the cause why the child is misbehaving rather than punishing him. So the authoritative parent will understand the child in a great way. So they have very clear standards for the children's conduct. They are very assertive. So let's say you give the smartphone to the child for online learning, and you notice the child is playing video games. So you know when you take the smartphone back, the child is going to be sad, angry and distressed. But you are assertive, you say, පුතේ smartphone එක තියෙන online education එකට මම දැන් ඒක ගන්නවා. ඔයාට ඒකට දුකයි කියලා මම දන්නවා. ඒත් ඒක කරනවා. So assertive parents, ඒගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ අයියෝ ස්මාර්ට්ෆෝන් එක ගන්න බෑ මෙයා අඬන්න පටන් ගන්නවා අපිට බලන් ඉන්න බෑ. So they are not sympathetic. They are empathetic and assertive. So they are supportive rather than being punitive. So what does the research say? So recent studies have said that about authoritarian, the previous style, authoritarian style, the adolescents have decreased autonomy. They do not take decisions for themselves. So when they grow up, they can't take decisions by themselves. They become dependent on others. If the parents have permissive style, they will have diminished personal growth and they will not feel fulfilled. If there is authoritative parenting style, research has clearly shown in longitudinal studies that it's a protective factor against behavioral problems as teenagers. There's less victims of crimes, more appropriate disciplined behavior when they are teenagers. So, a recent study has shown that if you want to prevent your teenage son or daughter from risky behavior in the future, what are the things to do? Check their homework every day, help them with their homework, check how much screen time do they have, always tell them they have done a great job, praise them and say that you are so proud of them. So these things will make less risky behavior in the future. So in summary, what will happen if you follow a certain parenting style? Authoritarian, you have a lot of expectations, but very least responsible. The child will become obedient and proficient, but there will be less happiness, poor social competence, and poor self-esteem. If there's permissive parenting style, low in happiness, no self-regulation, they can't follow instructions and problems with authority, and they will perform poorly at school. If you are the most damaging style, uninvolved parenting, you are looking at your phone, they will develop lack of self-control, poor self-esteem, and less competent compared to their peers. The best parenting style, the authoritative parenting style, your child will be happy, capable, and successful. In the second section, I'm going to talk about and give some tips about online education during the COVID-19 pandemic and parenting skills. So a lot of parents say, okay doctor, we can be authoritative parents until the homework need to be completed. මම බබත් එක්ක හොඳට friendly approach එකකින් හොඳ discipline එකකින් වැඩ කරනවා. හැබැයි ඉස්කෝලේ වැඩ කරනකොට නම් මට හොඳටම තරහ යනවා. මට හොඳටම upset යනවා. School work and parenting. So the parents come and say, මෙයාගේ ඉස්කෝලේ ගොඩාක් වැඩ දෙනවනේ. So if a person with significant low socio-economic problems from a village says, ළඟම ඉස්කෝලේට කිලෝමීටර් 10යි තියෙන ડોක්ටර් පයින් තමයි යන්නේ වෙන ඉස්කෝලයක් නැහැ කිව්වොත් it's okay. But when professionals who have the opportunity to put child into a school who doesn't cater for exams but more caters on skill development in the child, they still send their child continuously for this school whose just a curriculum completion task is only done at school, does not provide the socially, emotionally nurturing environment at school, they still send this child to this school and come and say that මම අපි ගොඩක් මෙයාට ස්ට්‍රෙස් කරන්නේ මේ ඉස්කෝලෙන් ගොඩක් වැඩ දෙනවනේ නැතු මේ අපේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෙමෙයි. Then they will say teacher ඉස්සරහ බැනුම් අහන්න දෙන්න බෑනේ. ඒකයි මම මේ වැඩ ටික කරවන්න මෙයාට බයි. So getting scolded, getting consequences for their misbehavior, not completing tasks, these are the things children need to learn. It's better to learn these things in the school rather than when you are 25 and doing a job. Then they will say, කිසිම උනන්දුවක් නැහැ. So then I ask, කිසිම උනන්දුවක් නැහැ කියන්නේ මෙයාගේ පොත් ඔක්කොම මේ empty ඇති නේද? පොත්වල මොනවත් දීලා නැහැ නැතුව කෙනෙක්. So they will say, නෑ homework කරනවා. Little child, no need for exams, they are going to a good school. So still pressuring them to do so much of work is unnecessary and it is not authoritative parenting style. If your child is doing the same mistake, for example, ඉස්පිරි කාපිලි මගැල්ලා ලියන. ඡේද complete කරන්නේ නැහැ. Forgetting the same thing you have told them again and again, then you have to understand there is something cognitive deficit in the child. Is it inattention, poor concentration, poor abstract thinking, poor organization? You have to address that rather than punishing the child. The child needs treatment. So online education is for the future. You know, in developed countries, you can get a degree by never going to that university physically. You can do everything online. So it is for the future. It is not only for during the COVID-19. So your child needs to learn this skill. Online education is a skill for life. Then, so people say that මෙයා online කරනකොට මෙයා වාඩිලා ඉන්නේ නැහැ. කොච්චර කිව්වත් අහන්නේ නැහැ. එයා අහගෙන ඉන්නේ නැහැ. So you can't expect the child just to be calm during the online class. You have to have a daily structure and schedule with playing time, time for music, time for walking outside, physical activities and online education. Only when the whole day is organized that the child will be calm during the online education. You are using a smartphone, it should be kept in a stable screen rather than keeping it in the hand. During the break between online classes, they will again go through the smartphone and maybe send messages to their friends or watch a YouTube video. So the break should be useful. You should not look at screens during the online classes break. You should go outside and let your eyes and mind relax during that period. So that is very important and you have to emphasize this. And prior preparation is compulsory. If you know the timetable of the online classes, please help your child to go through the textbook on the previous day and just go through the diagrams. There will be no time to go through the whole text. Just ask them to look at the topic, subtopic and diagrams before the classes start. If your teacher is a good teacher, she will tell, I will do this class from this section of the textbook. Please have a look at the diagrams. No need to read any text, just the diagrams before the class starts. And it's better to have a glass of water near them, so it gives them mild relaxation, keeps their small joints moving, so proprioceptive sensations are at the optimum level, preventing them from getting disturbed. And it is important that there is regular physical activities during the day to prevent childhood obesity and mental stress in the long run. So skipping for 15 minutes is a good exercise to help with release of endorphins and having a good emotional well-being. So relaxation activities like guided imagery, we don't have time to go through specific relaxation activities. The relaxation activity should be matching your child's age, personality and character. So as professionals, you know, guided imagery helps with relaxation and there are changes in the immune cell modulation and neurotransmitters and help with the long-term mental as well as physical well-being. So sleep, especially for teenagers and university students, the sleep time, roughly for an older teenager, the sleeping time should be at least 6 hours. And there should not be any screens, looking at screens, at least half an hour before the sleep. Better if no screens before 1 hour before the sleep. So they keep scrolling notes until they fall asleep. Just before they fall asleep, they are looking at the screen. So screens stimulate them emotionally. This emotional stimulation in the limbic lobe changes the sleep architecture and the quality of the sleep can get worse. So whatever the time they go to sleep, they should wake up at the same time. So they sleep at 11 p.m., they sleep at 12 midnight, whatever the time, the waking up time should be the same. It should be a constant thing. So otherwise, what we call the sleep satiety mechanisms become abnormal and long-term sleep problems can occur. And many parents come and say that මෙයාට online හින්දා ගොඩක් වැඩ මිස් වෙලා තියෙනවා. He has lost lot of work because he couldn't focus on the online education. So then you have to prioritize. You know, as medical professionals, we use triage. When there are a lot of casualties coming to the emergency departments, we use triage to select the patients that we can save. So likewise, in prioritization, you have to divide the lessons your teenage daughter or son has to study into red, orange, yellow, and green. If they only finish the red column and the lessons, only they will move to orange. So when you say that to the teenager who has missed a lot of work, it relaxes them. It takes the burden out of them. And for each lesson, there's a specific time and date they need to complete it, and you will support and supervise it. So this is lesson prioritization. And during the online education, the teacher is not physically there. So we need to save time, and you need to supervise your child or teenager to say that you need to focus on the concepts, not the facts. For example, if you take the grade 5 or 6 textbook, just to explain one concept, the textbook has given so many examples. One example is enough. But what the teachers do is they force the child to learn, especially this kavi and lot of facts, which are unnecessary for long-term abstract thinking development. So you have to make the child focus on concepts, not the facts. So that is very important. And katapadam kirima list is unnecessary because you know, becoming the first in the class in grade 7, you are not given any postgraduate degrees. So in the long run, what is useful is conceptual thinking and development of the abstract thinking. Then the next section, I'm going to discuss about how to identify psychological risks in your child and teenage. So if your child is under stress, how to know this? How to recognize this? There will be changes in the feelings. They'll be getting angry for small things. They'll be tearful for things that you hardly understand. They will have negative thoughts. They will say, "Mata karanna baya, mata epa vela." Negative thoughts, feelings of worthlessness. They feel they have no value. They will have changes in behavior. They are used to be very punctual, very organized. Now they are all over the place, not concentrating, demotivated. If there are any changes in either behavior, feelings, and thoughts, you need to stop and do something. So, lot of parents fail to understand when their teenage daughter or son is depressed. This is why. So when an adult, this is the typical mood of an adult. So along the day, there are elevation of the mood, like we listen to a favorite song, or we eat something we like. Then when we busy, we see 65 patients in our clinics, we become a little bit sad and distressed. So the mood varies in a typical baseline variable. But teenagers and youth, this is the normal variability they have in the mood. They feel extremely happy listening to BTS or Blackpink. Then they are extremely sad when the mother asks them to stop listening to YouTube and study. So their mood changes so fast. The variability of the mood is so high. When the adult is depressed, their mood is persistently low. They say, "I don't feel well. මගේ ඔළුව රිදෙනවා, නිින්ද යන්නේ පාවෙලා." So their mood is low, depression is easily recognized. But when young people are depressed, their mood goes down, but you may see them in their peak. So when I say to the parents that your teenage son is depressed, they say, "Doctor මොනවද කියන්නේ? දැන් මෙයා විනාඩි 5කට කලින් මේ යාළුවන්ට මැසේජ් කර හිනා වෙවි හිටියා. දැන් මෙයා පැය භාගයකට කලින් මේ BTS වගේ සින්දුවක් අහලා නටනට හිටියා." So that is why parents miss this, because during these peaks, they may laugh, they may dance, but overall mood, it's very hard to detect other than for a child and adolescent psychiatrist when a teenager is depressed. So what happens if your teenage son or daughter has depression and you don't treat it? Academic failure, low self-esteem, violence, and long-term occupational impairment can happen. So when teenagers are depressed, they will say, I'm inadequate, මට කරගන්න බෑ. They will have a pessimistic view of the future. මං engineer කෙනෙක් වෙන්න කියලා හිතන් හිටියේ, I don't feel like doing maths now, I will do arts now. Or they will say, the world is full of injustice obstacles, so they don't want to do it anyway. They will become a YouTuber, or they will say, I will become a gamer and I will put gaming videos and earn money for ourselves. The next section is, what is the aim of us as parents? So our aim as parents is to make our children stay happy even when we are not here, even when we are not living, make them stay happy. So how can we do it? In the morning, when the child goes to school, we ask them to look at the mirror and comb their hair and brush their teeth. Likewise, we need to improve their skills to look at themselves psychologically. So what we call the mind introspection, you look at your own self and understand your own personality traits and character strengths, so you become a better person. So you need to look whether these personality traits are there. Personality is so complex, so I have simplified it so most of you can understand it. So some kids are too obsessional. They want 100% always time, which can make them have undue stress. Sometimes they are anxious and avoidant. They are highly capable. They can do things, but they are afraid of responsibilities. If your child has these traits, they are more prone to get stressed in the future. Dependent personality traits. Everything, they want the opinion of the parents even when they are teenagers. By understanding their personality, we can specifically help them to improve. And what are our aims? It is improving their emotional intelligence, or EQ. So emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive, control our own emotions, and to express them in a healthy manner. And our ability to understand, interpret emotions in others. So we become kind, empathetic people. So longitudinal studies have shown that EQ is more important than IQ. The IQ you got from your birth, from your parents through your genes, EQ is far more important than that. And it has very complex concepts like perception, reasoning, understand, and managing emotions. So what our aim? Let them have a good EQ so they'll be happy and successful in the future. So lastly, I'm going to talk about what should be your inheritance to your son or daughter. So you may be saving money to send him to abroad for a degree, or you may be saving money to buy him a vehicle, or maybe saving money to buy him a land. But what are more important inheritance that you can give to your son or daughter? Helping them to understand their own stress and manage them. So this is called, I'm sure you know this, Yerkes-Dodson performance scale. You can see in the green zone, if the stress is low, the mental performance is low as well. If there are no assignments, no time schedule, no exams, children will not work. If there's adequate stress, yellow and orange, there's good performance. So it should be a good balance. But if there is distress and excessive stress, what will happen? The performance comes down. So if they are not managing their stress well, their longitudinal performance will be poor. So kids, when they do not study during the term, but study only 3 days before the exam, these are the things that can happen to them. So you have to tell them how to manage stress. If there's chronic stress, it can come out as headache, abdominal pain, and chronic backache, and even skin irritations. So some physical signs can be due to chronic stress. And if your pediatrician or a consultant physician is saying, okay, your son has headache, I have investigated him, I have examined him, I can't find anything physically, you need to think of what is there any chronic stress? So another essential thing, I consider this as the most important thing a parent can give to his or her son or daughter. This is the emotional awareness. So let's say your daughter is watching TV and there's 2 weeks to the exams and you say, then suddenly she becomes angry. So as in shown in the graph, with the time, the anger is going up. It may be anger, distress, tearfulness. So she becomes angry and she or he says rude things that he or he doesn't usually say. Our aim should be to improve the emotional awareness. What is emotional awareness? Understand our own emotions quickly. So before saying something rude to mother, understanding that I am angry now, and to reduce the emotional curve and bring it back to the baseline. So what should we do? By improving the emotional awareness, okay, I'm getting angry, my head is hurting, I'm sweating, I'm blushing, I need to go away from the person who's making me angry, take 5 deep breaths, listen to the birds chirping, or listen to the sound of the air conditioner, or look at outside and distract myself from the emotion and focus. So emotion will go up and quickly turn down. But if they do this distraction, they will react by saying something back to the mother or father, and there will be another curve forming on top of the first wave. So there will be wave on top of the first wave. We will call the emotional tsunami, will make them very impulsive and angry all the time. So when you train emotional awareness skills to your teenage son or daughter, the anger, intensity of the anger or intensity of the emotional breakdown will come down with every week and month, because there are neuroplastic changes in the neural networks in your brain. So he will become a more calm, relaxed, happy person. So if you want more information about child mental health information, you can go to the Facebook page, official Facebook page of the Sri Lanka College of Child and Adolescent Psychiatrists, and you can get more information about child mental health information. So I would like to thank Colombo North Clinical Society of the Colombo North Teaching Hospital in Ragama, Dr. Sanjeeva Rajapaksa, consultant cardiologist, and Dr. Lasantha Nanayakara for inviting me and organizing this event. So I'm more than happy to answer your questions. If you have any questions, please send them through Zoom chat. So there are some questions. I will start answering them. If the child is around 4 years and demanding, how to deal with the child at this age? So if a 4-year-old child, 4 years means between 2 to 7 years, that we call the pre-operational cognitive stage. A 4-year-old toddler, the most important development during that period is the emotional development, where they learn to empathize and develop what we call the theory of mind. If the child continuously demands and there's no improvement to that, the child may have what we call the impulsive temperament. Children with impulsive temperament are more likely to develop anger, violence, inattention, hyperactivity, screen addiction, and poor peer relationships in the future. Impulsive treatment is not something very psychological. It is very biological concept. So you need to get an assessment, and the child may require some technique or parental style changes to help that child. I joined this lecture randomly. Can anyone mention the name of this page? So this is organized by the Colombo North Clinical Society of the Ragama Hospital. Is it too late to start authoritative parenting style for an 8-year-old? It's never too late. You can start at any age. Just change your parenting style, read about it, get advice from a professional and change it so you can become better parents, and inadvertently it will help your child to personally grow and become a very happy person. How can I develop my concentration power? So you may have heard through YouTube videos or TV programs, when මේක කරපුවාම මතකේ වැඩි වෙනවා. Those are not true at all. So if a person's concentration is poor, that usually says the working memory capacity. So as professionals, you know, there are 3 memory systems: the sensory memory, working memory, and the long-term memory. If the working memory capacity is low, there will be difficulties in long-term concentration. So you need to find whether that is the cause. Then that may require certain educational therapy treatments for that. If you have been a person with good concentration, but now you can't concentrate, that may be due to undiagnosed depression, and treating depression will help that. If you used to be a person who was concentrating well, but now you can't concentrate because of the online method, you need training to do proper online method with good daily schedule. So those are the things you need to do. How to handle tantrums in toddlers? Some preschoolers are asking to follow online classes. It is advisable to allow or should we avoid it at this age? So if a preschooler is having a lot of online time, I would advise against it. But if the online classes are from a person they know, for example, they have physically gone to the nursery, they like their teacher, they know them in the real world, and the teacher appears in the online class, it is okay. Because what we call here, it's a connection between the real world and the virtual world is established in the child. But if the child is attending a preschool online class and there's a person he or she has never seen, then it will be a problem, and I don't advise on that. Can you recommend online education to children under 5 years? So that is the same question I answered just now. How can we improve calculation difficulties of 7-year-old child? So if a 7-year-old child is having dyscalculia or calculation developmental delay, then you have to say, okay, reading is at this level, writing letters is at this level, calculation is at this level. Then it is the normal. But if the reading is at this level, writing is at this level, calculation is here, then it could be what we call the specific learning disorder. If your child is showing these symptoms, you need the assessment and you will be referred to an educational therapy. What is the approach to a small child throwing a temper tantrum? And we just answered that you need to screen for impulsive temperament. Looking for help for my 13-year-old son who has big behavior changes from COVID. Now too addicted to gaming and YouTube. I'm a single parent working full-time, want to know how to help. So he plays a lot of video games, he spends a lot of time online. Is that the reason he is not concentrating? But usually it's the other way around. Child who had mild concentration as a little child, you didn't recognize this. Teacher say, no, මෙයා අහගෙන ඉන්නවා මදි. මෙයාට පුළුවන් උනන්දු වෙන්නේ. එයාගේ වැඩ කම්ප්ලීට් වෙන්නේ. දන්න මේවත් ලියන්නේ නැහැ හරියට. If you have ever heard of these things or you have noticed these things, you have missed some important things. So if your child has already had inattention and you didn't treat it, and now the complications have developed. That is what the complication, internet gaming addiction or gaming or screen addiction. So you have missed the first time, now don't miss it again. Get treatment for attention deficit. Most of the problems related to gaming addiction will be resolved. Child is 11 years old and frustrated a lot. What can a parent do? So you need to understand, is this frustration long-standing thing? Then it is related to his temperament. You should take advice on to change the temperament. If the frustration is a new thing, it could be due to childhood depressive symptoms. You need to take treatment for depression. How about grade 5 exam? Is it good to work hard for that exam? They need more things than syllabus. So compared to 10 or 20 years ago, the grade 5 exam now is more standardized, and there's a lot of questions that require abstract thinking use. So a lot of, especially the maths part, is very standardized and very good for the abstract thinking development of a child. But there are certain parts of the grade 5 scholarship that requires useless memorizing, and like memorizing Kavi and stuff, those things are not that useful. But if you can focus on the useful stuff in the exam, and facing this competitiveness can build resilience in the child and can be helpful in the long run as well. What sort of changes in parenting do you suggest for child with impulsive behavior? So impulsive behavior, we need reward system. Reward system is, if you do this, you will get this token, and 5 tokens means you will get this playing time. If you do this, you are not going to get that token. And if this rule is broken, this is the consequences you are going to have. For example, a timeout. I'm sure you know what is a timeout is, and timeout is given to different ages in different age. So that is how we try to change the impulsive temper. So most of the other questions are similar to the previous ones. And I think the time allocated for this lecture by the Colombo North Clinical Society is up to 1 p.m. So I have taken extra 3 minutes. And I thank you all for joining in today, and thank you very much. And I would like to thank Dr. Sanjeev and Dr. Lasantha, and see you all again.